You want to know how quickly a morning can go sideways? I'll tell you, all it takes is one stubbornly persistent fog and two officers who think a woman alone on a boat must be up to no good. That's how my day started at Val Harbor. And let me tell you, it's a story I couldn't have made up if I tried. I mean, picture this. I'm rolling in a dock 4 on the Sea Whisper, a vessel so nondescript you'd probably miss it if you blinked. The name painted in faded letters, nothing fancy, nothing flashy, just enough to do the job and slip under the radar. That's exactly how I wanted it. See, after 15 years grinding through the ranks of Naval Systems Command, you learn a thing or two about how to avoid the spotlight, or at least how to make sure the right data gets collected before the brass turns everything into a circus. Today was supposed to be a routine field test for the new novice system. Simple, right? File my authorization, slide it deep into the logs at 0400, keep things quiet. No press, no brass, no politicians trying to photobomb for a headline. I thought I had every angle covered. That's the thing about plans, though. They never survive first contact. I tied off the bow with the muscle memory of 100 dockings, checked the NAV panel, everything humming along, soft blue glow, flawless data, took a breath of that salt air, and figured I might finally catch a break. Then I heard boots. Not one set, but two, echoing sharp across the planks. I turned, and there they were, officers Renee and Tager, looking like they'd just stepped out of a recruitment poster, full of self-importance and not nearly enough skepticism. "Someone's lost," Tager grunted, eyeing my cutter like it was a joke he didn't get. "No transponder. Wrong dock." They didn't even bother with pleasantries, just went straight to the attitude. That's the thing about people who think they own a place. They never check the logs, never imagine someone might actually belong more than they do. Renee leveled his gaze and barked. "This is a restricted dock. You can't moor here. ID now." I met their stares, steady as ever, and said, "Authorizations in the system, filed at 0400. You can check." You know what I mean? There are moments where you just know doesn't matter what you say. They've already decided who you are. Tager snorted, made some crack about this not being a laptop rental pier, like he was starring in his own private action movie. I reached for my satchel, slow, deliberate, because if you move too fast, suddenly it's a whole new story. Renee's hand shot to his weapon. "Don't move," he barked. I kept it calm, handed over my ID. He glanced at it, tossed it aside without a second look. "Fake," he spat, never even bothering to check the security features. He'd already made up his mind. What happened next? Well, let's just say you never forget the sound of zip ties biting too tight or the feeling of a dock under your knees while strangers tear through everything you've built. Tager boarded my boat, tossing out equipment like he was gutting a fish. Blankets, tools, life raft, all of it flung across the dock, each item punctuated by the crowd that started to gather paddleboarders, a woman filming on her phone, marina staff standing around, pretending they weren't really watching. "You're awfully quiet," Renee said, crouching beside me. "No threats? No boyfriend coming to save you?" His hand pressed down on my shoulder, chin forced against the fiberglass. I stayed silent, not because I didn't have anything to say, but because sometimes silence is the only answer that matters. The real twist? They found the novice panel weeks of work blinking on the display. Tager didn't hesitate, just stomped on it, crushing months of development in one blow. "Oops," he said when my backup drives followed into the harbor. The crowd's phones caught it all, but no one stepped forward. No one said stop. But here's what they missed. I wasn't quiet out of fear. I was waiting. I knew how this would play out. Power always shows its truest face when it thinks no one's looking, and right then, those two thought they could get away with anything. Backup arrived, more uniforms, weapons out, engines growling low as the patrol boat surged in. Sirens off, but you could feel the temperature drop. The backup team leader took one look at me, still zip-tied, face to the water, and barked. "What's your name?" "My name is Sabrina Hartley," I said, steady as you please. "Commander, Naval Systems Command." A pause hung in the air, the kind that says everything's about to shift. One of the younger officers picked up my discarded ID, went white as a sheet. Eyes darted, weapons lowered. The lead snapped a salute. "Yeah, that happened." Crowd gasped. The woman's phone dipped, and suddenly everyone realized what they'd just witnessed. They cut me loose, but I didn't say a word about the red marks on my wrists. I stood up, brushed off the debris, looked out at the harbor. "Secure the perimeter," I said, voice low but clear. "Get the logs before they're corrupted." The same officers who'd mocked me moved, without question now, scrambling to follow orders. The videos hit social media by nightfall. First clip, me kneeling, zip-tied while officers trash my boat. Outrage poured in. 12 hours later, second video, me standing, calm, as the backup team saluted. Suddenly, everyone wanted answers why no one intervened, how it got this far, what's said about the system. News anchors replayed every second. Senator Brady called for an inquiry, and soon, Captain Kessler was assigned to dig into what happened and what kept happening again and again to people like me. Turns out, my case wasn't unique. Dozens of complaints, all brushed aside by the same chain of command, all leading back to Commander Rowan. When the leak started, the story shifted from one woman on a dock to an entire system built to protect itself and break anyone who threatened that protection. Emails surfaced, transfer requests denied, procedures quietly bent. Rowan tried to deny it, but evidence speaks louder than excuses. Senator Brady made it clear. What happened at Vallon Harbor wasn't just one mistake. It was a habit one the system had let harden for years. They offered me a chance to speak, but I declined. I'd said everything I needed to say. Then, during the media firestorm, a courthouse 10 miles inland was breached hostages, armed suspect, real chaos. While the officers who'd arrested me stood benched, I moved quietly into the command van, picked up a headset, and took control. Within minutes, I'd talked the gunman down, no shots fired, no blood spilled. SWAT filed out, hostages safe. In that van, nobody questioned who I was. They just followed. Afterward, I walked out into the wind. No applause, no headline needed. Just the quiet satisfaction of knowing who I was and what I'd done. Renee and Tager watched me go, silent, finally understanding that sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one you should have listened to from start. 3 months later, I sat on the sea whisper as my niece fished off the port bench, her laughter echoing across the water. My sister hummed from the bow, the sun glinting gold on the waves. The marks on my wrists had faded but not disappeared. "Why do you like the boat so much?" my niece asked. I smiled, watching the water move beneath us. "Because it's honest," I told her. "It only cares how you move, not who you are." We stayed until the sun touched the horizon. No need for applause, no need for headlines. I'd already won, not by shouting, not by demanding, but by standing my ground when it mattered. In a world full of noise, sometimes silence is the loudest truth there is. So now, I want to know, what do you think? Where's the line between right and wrong, power and justice? Drop your thoughts below. I want to hear your story, too.